to day 2 of Account-X 2024. And we're here for the podcast Pitstop by Ask the Accountant. And we have a very interesting guest today. First time you've been on the show, so this will be a good one to talk about and go through. So, best of all, explain to yourself, Mick, who you are, why you're here, why people should care about you. Go for it. Introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm Mick Seddon, and my company is the Sustainability Suite. It's a white label product that we think is really important. Firstly, it's important for accountants because it helps them generate extra work, either with existing clients or to attract new clients. But more importantly, it's really important for the planet. Because we have to start addressing climate change. And at this stage, what we found is that nobody is addressing building a climate strategy into a business strategy. Typically, we find carbon consultants who'll give you a list of things to do, change your light bulbs, etc. And then that comes to a halt because people say, oh, what's the cost? What's the time needed? Whereas if we can show business owners that by adopting a strategy that deals with climate change, so for example, by putting marketing into it and telling the story of what you're doing, why you're unique, then it gives business owners almost an energy to go back into the business and have a differentiator. So we did it with one of our customers who changed the name to the Green Accountants.
Oh,
and
wow.
They found that simply by doing something like that, they were picking up new work, which was brilliant.
And that's what it's about, right? They've created a brand now, and then brands attract the right sort of clients for them, right? And that's where it comes from.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't know, have you been to Account-X before? Is it your first Account-X? If so, or if you've been to many before, what was your first impression of this Account-X 24? When you first walked through the doors, how did it feel to you?
Well, we were here last year exhibiting. Last year was our first exhibition.
Oh, wow.
It's an exhibit. So we've been...
And I bet you learned a lot from that this one, yeah?
Absolutely. Last year we were a bit manic.
Yeah.
We wanted to rugby tackle everybody that passed the stand.
Yeah.
This year it's a bit more relaxed. And what we're finding now is that we're talking to people who are coming looking for us. Last year we had a guy on day 2 who was waiting for us at 9 o'clock in the morning as he'd been to the stand 3 times on day 1. And we were so busy.
Wow.
But that's because we were talking to everybody.
Yeah.
Which you're going to do. But now this year, we've had a chance to talk to everybody, more relaxed. We're more confident in what we're doing. And I think the quality of the conversations and hopefully the follow-ups will be a lot better as well. Because you're getting people that recognise the importance of dealing with climate change.
Yeah.
And for accountants to be there for their clients. We work on the principle of your clients are either born green, going green, or going bust. And so, you know, we found that the born greens, people who are all set up the business in an ethical way, are naturally attracted. But there are so many limited company or businesses, I should say, out there, almost 6 million in the UK, SMEs who want to do something on climate change, but don't know where to start. And that's where your trusted advisor is your accountant, hence Account-X, and they're the guys that really need to help. So we're trying to make it easier for the accountants to go out and help. And the people that are coming to us at Account-X are those accountants that have recognised this and they see it as an opportunity, or they've heard about the software, or when it's explained to them, they go, I could do that. New clients or extra revenue from existing clients. So it's been brilliant this year.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, isn't it? Because I feel like this being your second year, you've kind of got a feel for it as well. So you know now what to expect, what the laws are going to be, what opportunities to take when you're here, and it goes there. And I feel like more than ever, there's more of a community around the vendors as well. Is that fair to say?
That's right. As well, you get to meet people. We've seen you guys now. We saw you in Manchester. We weren't exhibiting there, but just to see you. So it's great to finally get to sit in the chair.
I love it. So what are you most looking forward to then for the rest of Account-X? Then we're in day 2 now. Are you going to look at any talks? Is there any vendors you kind of want to get involved with, or maybe strike up a partnership with, or anything like that? What's your plan for the day?
Well, I think one of the interesting things has been the conversations with the institutes and the accountants.
That's a brilliant way in. Yeah, because brilliant.
They're looking to just been having a conversation already with Tom from ICAW, and he's saying we're looking at ways that the institute can enhance or adopt different technologies, and where it's purpose-driven, even more important. And they say that the member firms aren't really making a lot of progress on this. It's because firms are busy.
Yeah.
So the interaction with institutes has been great. Perhaps not as much with the softwares, the big players that are here with big stands, because we already use their products. What is interesting is how the technology is evolving with those guys. So I think that's an interesting one to see, and not something that we just write off. It's, what are you doing? We use a lot of AI in our program and our softwares.
Brilliant.
So it's interesting to see what those guys are doing as well.
Interesting. And JnG&x day one, done and dusted. What's been your highlight so far? Anything that really catches out for you as a bit of a wow factor this year?
I think the energy is brilliant.
100%.
You get people around you. It was great to see Jamie George walking past our stand, and rugby caps.
Yeah.
And people are like, who's that? Yeah. Why is Mick so excited? So just to see that was great.
Yeah. No, definitely. And when you come to an event like this and you're bombarded with so much knowledge and so much opportunities, and you've got all this stuff, we've got to become a sponge, right, and trying to absorb all of this information. How do you go away from an event like this and actually have actionable processes and actually come away with it thinking like you've made the most of it? What's your top tip for anyone, especially if they've never been to a conference before?
I think it's really important to capture the data. Thankfully, the people that we're talking to, much more this year. So, I say that as my advice, my top tip is come in with a strategy where you're not panicking too much in year one, but then capture the data so that you can follow up. But then it's really important that you follow up with quality conversations. So the note taking sounds simple, but it's so important if we're going to do the follow-ups and make sure that we engage again on this topic, because you always feel this, I guess, when you've got the stand, people leave it and you think, oh, that's brilliant, they were really interested. Whereas they might actually be thinking, where am I going for my next cup of coffee? But I think we're so fortunate with it being a purpose-led business that people are making a real commitment, and I'm hoping it's the one thing that they're going to do. So when we contact them, we'll get a good follow-up.
I love that. So the industry, accountancy industry, you've now been in it for a while. What's the bit that you love about the industry? What's the bit that puts that fire in the belly? Why choose accountancy industry over other industries out there?
Well, that's my background. When you say a few years, yeah, you're being very kind. It's a lot of years now, and I think it's the profession that ideally would go out and help their clients. Unfortunately, I think we have too much of a focus on compliance work.
Oh, 100%.
Most of the speakers that I listen to will say that the compliance work is falling away, or the prices that you can charge are reducing because there's so much tech. And I would have to agree. But as you make those savings in time because of the tech, I think it's really important that we use it, not to just get another client where we churn, but to think about our relationship with our clients and what we can do to help them with their business. Because the theory, again, is that, and my experience is that they want help. People want
and you're the trusted advisor, right?
Absolutely. So let's use that position. We're so fortunate as accountants that our clients, because they have year ends, it comes around every year. And therefore we have the chance to engage, unlike other industries, like the solicitors, perhaps a distant, or not that distant, but a near relative in terms of what we do. But they don't have the luxury of year ends. They might be transactional, or they're waiting on the worst to happen. So we have a great opportunity that we should not just ignore. And I think on climate change, but if I could just compare it with the development of the internet. Obviously, you're too young to remember when the internet first came up. But when we're waiting for 2 minutes for a page to come in front of you to upload, and you're thinking, not sure this will ever catch on. But then things improved and got quicker and quicker. And look where we are now. But with climate change, we don't have that way to think, will this catch on? Because it's happening. And even if we found the off button, I think what we've realized in society is that we have a greater responsibility now. You're seeing behaviors change. Apart from some mad people in the world who want to start wars, I think there's a greater impetus to behave better in society. We see it with CSR, we see it with ESG reporting, the way that we conduct ourselves in business. On the whole, so the vast majority of people want to do things better. So even if that magic off button doesn't exist, or it did exist, sorry, we would find that people will continue that theme. Yeah, they want to do the right thing.
And I agree. And I think back to your point there, it's just we've got to find a way that it's not compliance driven, isn't it? We've got to find that middle ground. And I think if we do that, businesses will adapt and take it on the chin, won't they? If there is a little bit more to report or whatever it is, just to give them an opportunity to do change or to
absolutely.
I think there's no thing.
And it's, you don't want your clients to have that Kodak moment, not the beautiful photograph, but the fact that Kodak didn't adapt.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
exactly.
a Debenhams, a high street name that went out of business because they didn't adapt quickly enough. I know they had their online stuff, but they were still left with a lot of square footage
exactly.
in prime locations and disappeared.
Exactly. So that's what you love about the industry. That's what gives you that fire in your belly. What would you change about the industry?
I'd say get on board. Have the accountants would be better placed if they had a moment or a day for themselves where they thought about where the industry was going and what they need to do. It is so difficult if you're caught in that cycle of year end.
Yeah.
Get it out the door, client phones, and you don't get a chance to go away and think. I made a conscious effort a few years ago to say, okay, where is the industry going? What's the next big thing? And I came up with climate and AI.
Yeah.
Climate first, because that was a bigger impact earlier on. And now we're saying AI is making.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think for your clients, if you're going to talk a business strategy for them, you should talk about it in your own head or with your partners or with somebody else that will ask you the right questions. And you can say, okay, if this is the way of the world, what's happening in the next few years? If I do not factor in AI and climate change, then there's a chance that I'll be the next Kodak or Debenhams.
Yeah.
I'll be out of business.
Yeah.
Not because you've done anything wrong other than failed to react and to look up yourself. Just burying your head in the sand, or in our case, compliance work, isn't the smartest move. And therefore we should start and lead by example by taking some time out and thinking.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things we're always talking about at the moment is our biggest problem in the industry is we don't have enough talent. We're struggling to recruit and everything else. And that's part and parcel is because we're just so focused on compliance, isn't it? If our role was shown to be more business advisory, more helping businesses, sustainability and all that, sure, that's going to attract a whole different breed of people to the industry, right?
Absolutely, yes. I always used to quote some of the recruitment companies' stats on people coming in.
Yeah.
And they'd say 67% of people want to work for a more ethical firm or even just an ethical firm.
Yeah.
And I used to look for real evidence of that. But now I'm really pleased to say that 4 of our last 5 recruits, 80%, because I'm an accountant, have come to us specifically because of our focus on sustainability.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so let's look back 12 months. Let's look back to what you were doing this time 12 months ago at Account-X to now. Talk to me about your tech stack. Talk to me about what you use on a day-to-day. Now, it doesn't have to be software. It could be a gadget or it could be something that's helped you. But is there anything out there you'd recommend as something that's been a game changer in the last 12 months? So you've gone, without me finding this app or this solution or this way of doing business, I would be far worse off. And actually, if I'd have known it sooner, I would have implemented it sooner. What's out there that you'd recommend to someone?
This is a little bit of a plug, but this is the tool that we've developed ourselves.
Perfect. Yeah, we like this.
Sustainability Suite, which is all about getting sustainability sorted. And it's a journey now for accountants to use with their clients, white label, that helps people to get going. And for the accountants, not to have to panic and say, I don't really know everything about climate change. I don't understand some of the definitions. I don't know what scope 1, scope 2 is. It's all built in there in a nice step-by-step guide with loads of prompts and anecdotes as you're looking at your screen. So you don't have to remember the full script. You can just look because you're typing up. I've even thrown in the odd dad joke.
I like it. Yeah.
Can't miss it. So I'm sorry that's just a plug. but I think it's so important for business, but also for the planet, you know, and I hate to think what the legacy is for our kids and our grandkids if we keep going unchanged.
Yeah, completely.
Unchanged. And with almost 6 million SMEs, I think you now understand the dilemma, the problem that we're trying to solve. And therefore, I don't think there is a bigger issue than climate change.
I love it. No, I couldn't agree more. So that was looking 12 months back. Let's look 12 months forward. You've already touched on the subject, but how do you think AI is going to impact either yourself or your product? Or you've said that AI is a big part of it, but give me some insights into what you think is going to happen. Like if you had a magic wand or if there was no limitations, where do you think it's going to take you? Either your product or you personally, like how do you think AI is going to impact you?
I think that's one of the things with AI. You don't know what somebody's going to invent next, and that's a challenge. So just focusing on what I do know about so far, and that is the reporting. So we start our journey by saying to our clients, where are you on what we use, the Rogers curve? It's a bell curve. If you've seen it, it starts off with the innovators, the early adopters, and eventually you get to the laggards, the people that are with smartphones. I say that's my mum. She's never going to have one. You know, so she's beyond laggard even. But what I see is that when we start the journey, we do a competitor analysis. It used to take us 90 minutes, and we still take 90 minutes if it's client specific. But if we're just looking to attract people to the opportunities from climate change, because that's what we're searching for, we do a report in seconds that says what's happening with the competition. Our focus is the accountants themselves. And there aren't many that score a point on this, not in the SME sector, but we then use it with practices to say, okay, now let's use the same concept for your clients. And if your client is in construction, what does the construction industry look like? To get them to encourage them to move now and either get ahead or play catch up. So we're using a lot of that in the marketing, and then the shortening of the time that it takes us to produce the reporting. What we're not looking to do is to just draft a report that AI could do to provide me with a sustainability plan or a carbon reduction.
Yeah.
Because a really important part of this is saying, okay, how could climate change affect your business? Which is an education piece. Just throwing out an AI generated report and saying, there's my carbon reduction plan. It's cheating. You couldn't do that in an exam. You wouldn't have the knowledge. Imagine if you went for surgery with a surgeon that says, oh, I've generated what we need to do.
ChatGPT says this.
Yes. You're not going to have an operation, are you? You perhaps wouldn't even let somebody put a sticking plaster on. So that section that is the education and the strategy and the differentiation, where it's real and it's still human, we'll continue to do that. But everything else is fair game.
I love it. I'll have to say this has been probably one of the most impactful podcast pit stops we're going to have, especially at JnG&x, and probably this year. So this camera, give us an opportunity, Mick, to tell everyone how they can find you, get some more in, what other events you come into, you know, how can people get involved and get on the journey with you? Go for it.
So we're at Manchester JnG&x next, which is our first time with a stand, because we're seeing the value from the exhibitions. And then we've already booked here again next year. You can find us by searching Sustainability Suite. And I would encourage businesses to at least take a look and see how this can help them, because it's the holy grail, isn't it? How can you become a consultant? But even better, how can you become a consultant in an area where you're not an expert? But start the journey before somebody else does. Get in touch, Sustainability Suite. I'm Mick Seddon. It's easy to find me as I walk around because of the height thing. But yeah, find us online or LinkedIn. That'd be brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you want to get in touch with him, then as I just said, going on LinkedIn or go through from there or come to one of the stands. But this has been a JnG&x 2024 Pitstop Podcast brought to you by Ask the Accountant. And if you want more information, more videos, more content relating to here, you're in the right place. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you subscribe to Mick as well. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.